With everything that's playing out in the world right now, the challenges abroad and even here in our own country, the cost of everything going up and the dark clouds that we see gathering on the horizon, it's easy to get discouraged and to lose hope and just to give up. But more than ever, this message is important for you to hear. If you're new to this channel, my name is Chris, and on this channel we discuss emergency preparedness, aka prepping. This is not my normal how-to video or a news segment that we typically do on the channel, but this is going to be more of a personal video. This is not scripted. I did put together an outline of what I wanted to say, but really what I wanted to do here in this video is to really talk one-on-one for just a moment and just share some thoughts I have with the way things are playing out in the world right now and where we stand as preppers. But before we jump in, I just want to mention a few things. First of all, we did launch the membership area this week. If you're interested, I'll put a link below to that. We're going to have that open until Friday night. And you probably noticed on the channel we have picked up sponsors. We've got several sponsors we'll use over this summer to really help offset some of the costs that we have on the channel and some of the projects that we have coming up that we'll be sharing as we document and as we try to continue to teach new learning skills on the channel. So I just want to mention those two things. I know some people mention, hey, why are you picking up sponsors lately? It's to, again, offset some of the costs that we have. So jumping into this video, one of the things I wanted to talk about is something I noticed recently. On my news segments, if you watch them, I try to always end on a high note. I'll do a personal message at the end. If you haven't stuck around to the end of the videos, you should go back and look at them because I just try to talk one-on-one to the camera. I always try to leave on, in the message on a high note, on a personal message. And look, I'm not afraid of pointing out the issues that we face, the things that are on the horizon, the things that we should be preparing for in our news segments. That's the point of those videos, to give you information and so you can prepare accordingly. But at the same time, I don't want it to always be focused on the challenges, but at the same time, I want to try to bring a balance of hope. Why do we need hope? Well, we can't really control the situation around us. The world seems to be spiraling out of control. I mean, just if you turn on the news, like an old friend of mine used to say, the first thing they say is, good evening or good morning. And that's the last good thing they say on the news. And, it's frustrating because we did a video recently, a couple of weeks ago on the channel, and it really seemed to hit a nerve with the community where we just addressed the issue of the cost of everything that's spiraling out of control and how so many people are in a tight place right now. It seems like every time I look up, my home insurance has doubled in the last several months, car insurance, the cost of food. It's just one thing after the other. And it's like, if you've ever swam in the ocean before, it's like waves. They'll come, they'll hit you, you get knocked back, you get up, here comes another wave. And it's that feeling of what's coming next, what's going to hit us next. And saying that, I know a lot of people are hurting right now. And again, I read the videos, or rather the comments on my videos, and I have a pretty solid understanding of where you are at. I don't read every comment, but I try to go through and scan as much as possible a few hours after releasing a video. But here's a reality. I can't control what's happening out there. None of us can do that. But there are two things that I can do. I can control how I react, what emotions I allow to play out in my head, and that's an important one. And I can control what steps, what actions I take next. And these two things are so important because they really dictate the direction that we will ultimately go. Let's be honest. If you might have done this. I don't know if you have, but I sure have plenty of times. When I sit in despair and hopelessness, what do you usually do in those moments? I mean, let's be honest. We do nothing. We turn to look. We look inward. We look at the problems, and it's that wave of that wave that comes over us. That feeling of hopelessness. And let's be honest, those are not times that I'm motivated to do something. It's in these moments that we lose our drive, our motivation to move forward. And my encouragement to you right now is to stay encouraged. It's a decision that I have to mentally make each day. I have to mentally decide to stay encouraged. I think I mentioned this in a video recently, but I've begun to adopt this phrase, remember to remember. I have to remind myself, stay encouraged, stay on point, keep moving forward. Don't sit in despair and look at all the problems. Look at the mistakes I've made. Look at how little I've achieved. And, the list can go on and on. But by staying mentally focused, by choosing, and that's the key word here, by making that decision, it allows me to continue to move forward and not to get stuck in a rut. And I would encourage you to find what your goals are, what motivates you, what purpose are you living for? I can tell you that by defining those things for me in my own life, it has made all the difference in these dark times. In these moments where I feel like I'm going through a tunnel and I can't really see the light at the end of the tunnel, I know I'm on the right track and I continue to move forward because I know the direction I'm moving. I have a purpose and a goal. And my encouragement is for you to ask, what do you want to move toward? What are your goals? What are your preparedness goals? Obviously, this channel focuses on preparedness, and that's kind of the point of this message is when it relates to preparedness, what goals are you setting for yourself? Is it to store more water, more food, to get in shape, to start a garden? Because once you determine these goals, it really comes down to working backwards to get to that objective. If you say, I want to be here in 6 months, well, then for me, I've just learned over the years, okay, if I'm going to be here, then how do we work backwards? What are the timeline? What are the milestones that we need to hit? And again, I say this because it's a daily drive to achieve the goals that keeps me personally moving forward despite all the issues I see playing out in the world. What motivates me personally? I'll talk about that a little more at the end of the video, but getting back to the main message here, my encouragement to you is to continue to move forward on your goals, to move toward your goals on a daily basis, no matter how small they may be. Let me say that again. You need to continue to move forward and focus on what you can get done, no matter if it's something small. You may say, well, this is really small compared to what other people are doing, but that's okay. For me, one of the biggest challenges I personally face, and I'm just kind of pulling the veil back here a little and exposing some of my own internal workings and the way my mind works, I tend to go big. I swing for the fences on everything I've done in life. And sometimes it pays off and sometimes it has caused problems. I'll put it that way. It can drive my wife nuts sometimes because, there's this tendency where I tend to think in terms of big projects, which sometimes end up just consuming me. I get so consumed in them. And my wife's a very patient woman. I'm very fortunate for the woman I've married, but it's something that has caused a bit of a little friction in our marriage. I'll put it, that's the word I'm looking for. Because I have a hard time slowing down because I want to go big on everything. But it's hard for me to recognize sometimes the small gains. I've been doing this for a while as a prepper, and I look back at what I've achieved and where I'm at right now. And by most indicators and milestones and checklists or whatever you want to call it, I've checked off some pretty significant things. But there's so much more I want to do. But again, I'm grateful for where I am. I'll put it that way. I think when we look back one day, when we move down the road, we're going to be glad that we continue to really persevere and move forward despite the obstacles that we may be currently facing, the sense of hopelessness, the sense of despair of what's going on. And again, I'm recording this on June 4th of 2024. And it just seems like things keep compounding. The more I turn on the news, and which I rarely do anymore, the bad news, if it bleeds, it leads, right? And it just seems like, gosh, it's just a wave after wave of problems that are being constantly paraded out in front of us. Because again, it gets the clicks. I get that. And again, if you get locked in and you get focused on that, and that's why I'm so cautious on this channel to make everything about the bad news, but I try to balance it with practical how-to videos. Because every little step that you take, no matter how small it may be, it makes a difference. And again, my encouragement to you is to be thankful for the victories that you've had, whether they're big or small. And look, I know how it is. Sometimes we don't want to look, we don't want to try something because of fear of failure. We don't want to look bad. We don't want to be seen as, oh, this guy tried and he made a mistake. And I'll be honest with you. Again, I didn't really plan on talking about this, but it's something I face even on this channel. There's things that I've wanted to do, projects, but I'm like, but I'm not as good as somebody else that can do it out here. In my channel, I've got over 1 million subscribers, and what if someone sees me do it and it's not up to par with what someone else does? How will that make me look? And I'm telling you that because, again, I just want to be transparent here. Failure, it's always a possibility. but it's never fatal unless you give up. And more importantly, it's only fatal if you don't try. And that's the thing, is I've had to learn how to get out of my own head at times, because I always want to do things in perfection. That's just what motivates and drives me. I'm a very detail-oriented individual, and it can be a blessing and a curse. But failure only comes down to not trying and not trying again. And what I've learned from personal experience and observing others who have gone on to do some great things, I've had old business partners that are very successful. They have friends and people they circle themselves with that have done amazing things, multimillionaires. I mean, these guys that some of them have shared their experiences. My couple of business partners that I have that are still very good friends. And it's always fascinating as I get around these people and listen to them. They've had their fair share of failures, but what makes them different is that they continue to move forward, to try one more time, to push one more time when there's a problem. They may make mistakes, they may stumble, but the difference is they choose to get up one more time and try until they succeed. And that's what it really comes down to. When we get caught up in that fear of failure, that can hold you back. And my encouragement to you is don't let yourself fall into that trap of giving up and falling into despair. Don't let yourself get caught in that trap of giving up and falling into despair. Again, I know we're in a difficult time right now, and we're going to run into issues. And if you get stuck on your preparedness journey, don't stop. Let me say this directly to you. If you hear nothing else, as your friend, I just want you to know that you're going to be all right. I know we're in tough times. And I say that because I just don't want you to lose hope. That is my biggest fear for this community right now, is that it is so easy to sit back, turn on the news, rage at the TV, talk about all the problems that we have. And that's why I don't listen to, talking heads, social media influencers that just focus on the negative, that tend to be filled with angst and anger and always out to, you know what I'm saying. You've seen those people, right? They tend to be popular because they stir up an emotion. I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's so many headlines I'm seeing over and over and over on blogs, articles, whatever. They use the same emotional appeal of anger and frustration to get people to click. They elicit some emotional response. And those, I see them a mile away, and I choose not to click because I don't want to get sucked into that. I've done that long enough. And it only leads to a point of frustration and anger. But my encouragement, stepping back, is if you are feeling hopeless, it's okay to acknowledge it. I've been there myself. I've had things that have set me back in major ways. I had a pretty traumatic experience about a year and a half ago. I share a little, not much on the channel. I kind of alluded to it. And maybe one day I'll feel comfortable talking about it. But I had a pretty traumatic event in my life that nearly set me back. It was, it was really difficult. And I had to go through a lot of stages of grieving. But I came out on the other side, and I'm here today. And like I've stated earlier, it really came down in that moment to make I had to make a couple of decisions. I had to take control of my feelings. Yes, I went through the stages of grief, but I ultimately had to make a decision that I can't sit in that anymore. I have to take control of my feelings, and I chose to find a purpose, and I chose to pursue it. And I'm here today for that very reason. So let me finish by saying, stay encouraged and stay strong. Don't allow yourself to get caught up in fear and get isolated and to give up. And maybe you're watching this and you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's just not motivating me at all. That's okay. I know some people, you may be in a position where things are going great, and be thankful for that. Be grateful. But I know a lot, again, based off the comments section and listening to my community, there's a lot of frustration and pain out there. And again, you will make it through. Let me finish by sharing what really motivates me. And I mentioned this a second ago. Honestly, I feel like I found my purpose in life, I don't know, in the last year and a half, 2 years. I've done this channel because I've enjoyed it, but I went from let's create content to how do we shift to actually help people? And I think even more recently, even in the last several months, my own clarity has continued to sharpen and sharpen and sharpen. You ever gone to I don't know, you can tell I wear glasses. I don't know if you've gone to the optometrist, if you wear glasses, they'll put you on I don't know if they don't really do this anymore. Now they have this digital machine that can, focus on your eyes very quickly. But back in the day, they would change the lens. They're like, is this sharper? Is this sharper? And they would keep doing it until they get your lens to the point where you can see perfectly. And I feel like I've gone through that experience over the last 12 to 18 months to where I'm at right now. And I've announced this recently on the channel and in our newsletters. I'm rolling out what we're calling our 2030 initiative. And again, getting back to the question, what motivates me, what pushes me? The 2030 initiative is the goal was to find a way to train 10,000 people to prepare. And over the next 6 years by 2030. We launched our online portal back in November of last year, and we're refining it right now. I brought in a consultant where over the next several months, refining it, sharpening it up to fall in line with this objective, to help people build in a community and give them the practical information that they can go on this journey and to hit every milestone on their own time and to prepare. And for me, if that's all I leave behind, if I look up one day, 6 years from now, and I'm like, hey, I trained 10,000 people that got their stuff together, they're in a position where they can help their family and their community, I feel like I've accomplished what I've been given the task to do in this life. And for you, I would encourage you to find what is that thing that motivates you. This is really, for me, it's put a fire under my seat. I'll put it this way. And it excites me every day to get up. It's not a drudge to get up. It's not a, this is difficult. I got to pull myself out of bed. I wake up and I feel like I got clarity and it motivates me. And motivation is great. Discipline is crucial. Motivation helps, but discipline is that thing that keeps you on track. I've shared I've lost a little over 20 some odd pounds over the last 4 months. And it was because not motivation. It was just purely discipline. And I say all that because once I found that goal, for example, in this case, weight loss, I set a path of discipline. And when motivation was there, it was great, but it has enabled me to be where I am today. And in the same way in your preparedness journey, find what you want to target. We've got plenty of how-to videos on this channel, whether it's gardening, food storage, water storage, physical fitness. I've tried to cover and try to make this channel well-rounded, and we continue to create content to refine and improve. But let me finish by saying this. You've got this. Stay encouraged. Don't allow the fear, the things that are happening in the world to paralyze you. And again, be careful what you listen to and what you watch. If you're finding yourself filled with rage or anger or frustration, that is a very dangerous message to latch on to. I would encourage you, if you're getting into that, to turn the TV off and to stay focused on what you can with your preparedness journey. I always enjoy sharing these type of messages. I know this is not my normal type of video, but I just want to take a second to give a one-on-one from my heart to you. And again, I welcome your feedback in the comment section below. As always, stay safe out there.